This is CES MMA.
But I want to change it to the best dressed man in MMA.
Absolutely. Comes in here, shirt and tie, always a sharp vest.
Suspenders, squared away, stay away from my daughter type wardrobe.
A sharp individual both in and outside of the cage. And, of course, we mentioned the trunks worn by Josh Lang. DINIS PAIVA going with the spandex tonight as opposed to the looser-fitting Muay Thai shorts.
Now you see Josh Lang is a southpaw. He's coming out in a southpaw stance at least to start. Now you'll see Sweetbread. He'll change his stance from time to time. Nice double jab from Josh. Now if you take a look, Mike, watch Josh's rear left leg, his heel, more often than not will be off the ground. And a lot of Thai fighters keep it off the ground so they can get the kick around faster. It'll be slightly up off the ground. He won't be flat on that foot.
Definitely something to keep an eye on as these two fighters feel each other out.
Nice takedown attempt by Paiva going for the single. Knees in the clinch by Josh. We've got a good scramble going on right back up into the cage.
Yeah, Lang did a nice job against that first takedown attempt.
Great job. Now he's throwing knees deep into the clinch, and Dennis is a wise thing and backs out. A little short in that high kick by Dennis, and there's that rear leg. You're gonna, Josh, to me, if you look at his hips, he's trying to feed Dennis into that leg. Being a left-handed fighter, he'll throw his right hand and try to feed Dennis into a straight left hand or another rear leg. Triple jab from Josh Lang to get inside that.
Yeah, really working those triple and double jabs early on.
He's trying to find his distance, find his range.
3.5 to go in round number one. DINIS PAIVA in the red and black. Josh Lang in the white trunks.
Both these fighters doing the smart thing, throwing feints and then following them up. I love how active these lighter weights are. Both men right now look to be respecting each other quite a bit. No one's too eager to make a mistake.
I agree, a lot of mutual respect on both sides.
Active mutual respect too. You know, they're throwing punches but not overly committing. Couple of nice knees in the clinch by Josh Lang. Dennis is still trying to work that takedown. He's kind of got him around the hip. He might try to drop into a cradle, but not quite sure if he's going to do it at the time. Oh, he's trying to scoop, and he muscles him over. Great job by Josh to scramble right back up to his feet.
Yeah, Lang wasting no time getting back up on his feet. PAIVA trying to drive him into the cage, working the knee into the hamstring. Just trying to soften those legs up. 2 minutes to go in round number one. Now PAIVA's got Lang down.
Yeah, he's got him down. He's not quite in his guard, though.
Yeah.
If you take a look, Josh has his left foot inside like he's trying to attempt a butterfly. So he's either going to want to try to get that foot out from under and close up that guard, but you see where his right foot's pushing the hip off to create space, and now he's going to close that guard back up. Kind of a stalemate position here. Josh is pinning Sweetbread's head to his chest so he can't posture and punch. It's called breaking his posture, and Dennis is trying to stack. Lang's doing a good job of just kind of controlling his head and not allowing Paiva to throw those punches down. Nice short elbows. Again, short elbows from both sides. And you see how he pops his hip on the elbow. That's a good Thai technique. He's actually getting his core into it. You don't have a lot, you can't wind up when you're on your back, but you're using your core to twist that little extra inch or two to get something on it.
Just under a minute to go in this first round. The action a bit slow and steady. Lang continues to work those elbows.
He does, and they're really good short elbows. Sweetbread's really not improving his position, but you can see Lang with his ankles closed. That's a closed guard. That means that it's going to be harder for Dennis to pass. Now he's going to rubber guard, Lang is, by bringing that leg up over. And Paiva sends him for a crashing down. Nice job.
Finish.
I would really like to see Dennis pass right now. You take all that time. Now he's trying. Disengage maybe. Nice punch on the out.
Well, certainly good timing on Paiva's part to execute that move in the closing seconds of what has been a close opening round.
Nice round for both fighters there.
We'll
Tough
see
one
how
to score.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out in the scorecards with Paiva making the most noise, so to speak, over the end by slamming Lang to the canvas.
Absolutely. And again, that's a very risky move on his part. You pick a fighter up like that and slam him down, sometimes it tightens whatever hold they're trying to go for. And in Dennis's corner right now, you hear that's Matt Santos, you know, very well respected jiu-jitsu player, fantastic coach and training partner. You know, he's got a great corner, Dennis does at the moment. Oh, what is that they're using by chance? Could it possibly be grease? Could he possibly be working his fighter in between rounds?
Thursday, December 27th.
Let's take a look over at Josh Lang in his corner between rounds. And again, Scott, in what has been the theme of the night, a lot of tough rounds to score, and that first round was certainly
I won't argue one iota with you, Mike. I think you hit the nail right in the head. Incredibly tough round to score.
I think Paiva might get the slight edge just based on how he finished. Sometimes the judges may remember.
I think it's perception.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, it comes to that one judge's perception where they might say Dennis was more active than Josh in that round. So.
Okay, round number 2 of 3 here in the featherweight division, or bantamweight division rather. Dennis Paiva in the red and black, Josh Lang in the white trunks from the Bomb Squad in Ithaca, New York.
We can just, instead of calling it bantam or feather, we'll just call it not my division. Not since birth, my division.
The small guys, typically the faster.
Yes, yeah.
Willing to let their hands go. We saw that, of course, in the last fight with Stimson and Foster. Nice job by Lang.
Yeah, scramble to a takedown. It wasn't a takedown attempt by Sweetbread. It was more or less a reaction. And there's a nice transition. Again, he's like taking him in a headlock and bulldogging him down. And Dennis gave up his back. Josh Lang is now throwing knees into that midsection there, right into the ribs.
Soften up that rib cage.
And it only takes a couple of those knees to soften everything up.
There's some side position too here. Lang doing a nice job to flip it.
Yeah, great job in transition. He's going to knee on belly. Dennis doing a great job rolling over. Dennis is going to try to work himself back inside, maybe grab a leg in a north-south position or sit out from here. But Josh doing a great job. You see how he has his elbow to his hip. He's kind of controlling his posture from that point.
It's going to be a real tough spot here for Paiva. We'll see how Lang, or if rather, Lang can take advantage. 3.5 to go in round number 2.
I'd say Lang is taking advantage where he's not allowing Paiva to get up or do anything besides eat knees right now. Now he looks to be putting his hooks in. We got one hook in, and Josh Lang looks to be putting the second one in. Now he's got them both out. Dennis is doing a great job to work back to his feet.
Best thing Paiva did there was not panic at all.
Yeah, it's true. And you see Josh Lang grab the cage right there, you know, which is kind of instinctual.
Yeah.
You're falling down, but I would have really liked to heard the referee tell him not to.
Pete Rogers officiating this bout. Paiva now trying to take control here midway through round number 2.
You see Josh Lang's on his back. He has an overhook of one arm and an underhook on the other. This is a stall technique, breaking his posture down, keeping your opponent's head pinned to your chest, not allowing him to get any power in his punches.
Now, we saw this in round 1. What does Paiva have to do to prevent this?
He has to try to maintain posture. He needs to keep his head up, and you don't want to be too forward in your opponent's guard. But as it stands right now, you don't know what Dennis is working. Maybe Dennis sees something or feels something there. You know, in the thick of the fight, you never know. But Josh is doing a great job of kind of stalling this out and maybe looking for the referee to stand the back up. You see Josh has both feet on Dennis's hips. He'll look to extend and either throw him off or bring him over the top here.
He's not letting Paiva get his arms free. And now he, on his turn, delivering some short lefts.
And with those lefts being thrown, you don't see Dennis trying to move his arm out. Dennis is trying to control his hips and keep Josh in this position.
You hear Matt Santos yell, "Get some altitude, lift your head up."
Yeah, and that's so he will break posture. You want to regain posture Josh doing a great job of breaking Dennis's posture.
1.5 to go in round 2. Dinis Paiva and Josh Lang in the bantamweight division.
There you go. Get your head overhead. He's going to try and press you away. Be ready for that.
Paiva at least has that left hand free, just trying to deliver a little something to the rib cage, but nothing really doing any damage.
Yeah, he's just overextending. You can see that right arm right now is very deep, and there's your overhook. You know, Josh gets that overhook. That, what I mean by that is above the elbow, pinning the arm down, and he's maintaining Dennis's posture. In other words, he's saying that he's not allowing Dennis to sit all the way up and get good power, or reach back for a punch, or even advance and pass his guard at the moment. Dennis, in turn, is doing a good job of keeping Josh pinned to the cage. He's just not capitalizing on it.
Right, it's working both ways here. Surprised that Pete Rogers hasn't stood him up at some point.
He must think they're being active enough.
Yeah.
No one's really advancing a position. No one's taking a bunch of damage. This is a point where you should hear the referee say, work, improve your position, do something or I'm standing you up. And we're not hearing that right now.
Lang has that right arm free. He delivered a couple of short elbows and a couple of short rights. But again, like you said, I think you described it perfectly as a stall tactic.
Exactly what it is. Just hoping to restart and get stood up.
If you thought round 1 was tough to score, this one's going to be a lot tougher, Scott. Final seconds of round number 2. Be interesting to see how this one goes, but in any event, we're going to 3 here in the bantamweight division. And that is the final bell of round number 2. So the action in this round, mostly on the canvas, a lot of stall tactics, not a whole lot going, not a lot of advancement.
No one took any damage and no one inflicted any damage. It's very much scoring a round like that.
Maybe an even round.
It's a rarity, but I think you could be right.
You could certainly make the case for it. It's going to be interesting to see who has the upper hand in round 3 on the scorecards. We really have no way of knowing that.
A lot of judges will say the guy that was on top,
Right.
defending these things, defending punches, defending takedowns. The defense itself is its own reward. You know, it depends on your perspective.
I agree. It's kind of an instinct among judging. When the fighter is on top for the most part, he gets the benefit of it down on the scorecard. We'll see if that's the case here. If, in fact, this fight does go the distance, we still have 5 minutes to go. Anything could happen in this 3rd and final round. But so far, a good fight. Very solid technical fight on both parts. I think Paiva's done a real nice job against a real tough fighter from the Bomb Squad, and vice versa. Josh Lang doing a nice job coming in here into Paiva's backyard and holding his own thus far. We got one more round to go to decide it all. And here we go.
Nice show of respect to start the 3rd round. There's your combinations, and Dennis did a great job of evading those.
Yeah, Lang has done a nice job with his hands. Hasn't had a lot of opportunities to use them when he's been on his back, but in the brief moments when he has, he's really shown some nice technique.
He's very fluid on his feet. He doesn't stand still for very long. And I think you're going to see, especially in this round, being so close, one of these two fighters has to open up and take some chances and see how bad they want it.
We'll see if that Muay Thai background plays into a factor here in this 3rd round for Lang. He's really kind of kept it under wraps, and I think part of that's because of what Paiva's done, obviously.
I'd have to agree with that for sure.
But maybe there's a kick in there somewhere.
There it is.
Well, almost.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Parenti, ESP. Great call. And you know, you called that, you saw that, you could see how he was leading into that, and you made that call perfectly.
Wish I could pick my lottery numbers the same way.
I wish you could too, because I'd take a ticket.
4 minutes to go in the 3rd and final round. Paiva again in a familiar position.
This position will not win the fight.
This time now Lang has his back to the cage. We'll see if Pete Rogers has as long a leash in this round as he did in round number 2, if this in fact does stay in this position.
He's right on top of the action. You know, he's close enough to the fighters to keep an eye on it.
Paiva's got a little bit more room to operate here than he did in the 2nd round.
Yeah, he's a little more active, except, again, he's falling right back into those traps of his head against his chest and his arms getting tied up.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right, this won't win the fight for either fighter.
You know, if we had 3 more minutes of Dennis doing this, then yeah, I guess you'd turn around and say it was.
Sure.
Now, you seen what happened there? Josh Lang just threw heels into Paiva's hips. Something you don't see very often.
Yeah, maybe trying to push off.
There's strikes with his heels. BJ Penn's foot is notorious for it. Nice job. Dennis finally stepping over into half. And Josh doing a great job of recovering full guard.
Yep.
These
Bringing
guys
that head right back to his chest again.
Absolutely. It's a chess match here.
2.5 to go in the fight.
Well, you just heard Dennis's corner say passing is not enough. He needs to do more.
He's absolutely right. And I think you just called that a minute ago. Every so often, Paiva gets a hand free, but Lange just pulls him right back in, and it's back to that stall tactic. Now Paiva gets back up on his feet.
Nice up kicks by Lange. Great job. Dennis was a little extra aggressive and almost fell into a triangle, but did a great job of fighting it off. These guys are very evenly matched. I mean, this is a really technical grinding fight.
Another great job by matchmaker Pat Sullivan finding two evenly matched fighters, and you see it play out. So often you see
Boy, doesn't it hurt when you give him credit for anything? It bothers me.
So many times on paper they look close and they don't end up as close. This one is an example of one that actually has been a close fight. And again, credit to Pat Sullivan for making this one. 1:40 to go in the fight. Dennis Paiva, in some ways, controlling the action. I think.
Yes, I agree with you on that, Mike. If you have to turn around and say who's controlling the action, you're right. Now, somebody might turn around and say, oh, that's all Dennis did was lay on top of him. But guess what? That means the fighter on the bottom didn't get up.
Exactly.
That's a double-edged sword right there. So, depending on your perspective, but yes, Dennis is controlling it. I do agree with you.
At the end of the day, our opinions don't count. It's the one of the three judges cage side, and we'll see how they call it if, in fact, these two fighters can survive the final minute. And again, Pete Rogers must be seeing enough from both sides to leave it be and not stand him back up. I'm not sure I agree with it, but I think after having seen it for 2 rounds, I think at some point he'd want to get him back up here.
If he thinks they're working enough, improving positions, attempting to improve positions, then he's going to let him stay there. The only thing, and maybe I'm not hearing it, there's Dennis is opening up with a couple of better punches. You want to hear the referee tell him to work, but I haven't heard it. I've heard his corner. I've heard both fighters' corners talking. I haven't heard anything from the referee.
Paiva, to his credit, has let his hands go a little bit in this final minute, and that may give him a slight edge on the cards. 25 seconds to go in the fight. Dennis Paiva, Josh Lange, as evenly matched as you will get in the bantamweight division. This one's been a treat to watch.
Dennis hasn't made any mistakes. Sometimes you can get frustrated and try to pass too quickly or try to do something a little extra, but he didn't. He was very methodical, and he kept his opponent on the ground for the whole round.
And that'll do it. Paiva on his feet for a brief moment at the end of the fight, but it ends as is, and we will go to the scorecards to see how this one goes. This one's going to be real tough to score. I am very interested in seeing how the judges see it, but nonetheless, an evenly matched bout between Josh Lange and Dennis Paiva. And I think, Scott, win or lose, it's a real good showing for Dennis Paiva. Comes off a win in August, puts forth a great effort tonight in an evenly matched fight against a very tough opponent. I think things are starting to turn the corner. Regardless of how the decision goes, I think Paiva's turned the corner a bit.
I think Dennis has turned the corner mentally. I think he was beating himself up after a couple of tough losses early on. And I think, I've had the pleasure of talking to him. I think he's a phenomenally nice guy. I just told him to have fun. And I think he's starting to do that right now. And the more he relaxes, what a great show of respect, both guys right there. I think the more Dennis relaxes, the more, like you said, things are going to turn for him.
I agree. The relaxing is big. Like you said, Dennis not making any mistakes, not letting his frustration get the best of him. I'm sure there were many moments in this fight when both sides were frustrated, but neither fighter gave in. So that's how it went. 3 rounds in the books in the bantamweight division between Dennis Paiva and Josh Lange. We're going to send it down to our ring announcer, Bill Carpenter, for the particulars.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's go to the judges' scorecards for the official decision. Judge Michael Bacher scores the bout 30-27. Judges Patty Avery and Dave Peabody both see it 29-28. All three judges scoring for your winner by unanimous decision. DINIS Sweetbread Paiva.